What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 7, my favorite number, of Week in Review. My name is Sean, and I am the host of this lovely show that I put on the internet. And on this week's show, we have 3 games. We have that one game, Gravel. We have Trials of the Blood Dragon. We also have Super Lucky's Tale DLC. No movies, because I didn't go see Death Wish, which would have been following through my own personal Death Wish of watching that movie in theaters. I mean, it's getting destroyed on Rotten Tomatoes. It has like 15%, which is fine. I mean, just because it has 15% doesn't mean it's necessarily a bad movie. It was probably going to be garbage. I knew that going in. I said that last week. But here we are. I didn't see it. Whatever. Probably won't ever get around to it. Opening weekend or bust. That's my philosophy as far as movies are concerned. And obviously, we'll look forward to the week's new releases. We will start this week with the $5 DLC for Super Lucky's Tale. And this DLC seemed to just kind of come out of nowhere. I mean, it makes sense. It was added to Xbox Game Pass last Thursday on the 1st. And they just threw DLC out there for it, which is great because this is a good game. And DLC is obviously a good reason to jump back into the game. This DLC contains 3 levels, 6 of these puzzle challenges, and 1 boss battle. The 3 levels are levels that have appeared in previous games, or styles of levels that have appeared in previous games. There's an exploration-based level, a maze-type level, and a side-scrolling type level. And I personally prefer the first one. I like walking around trying to find all the hidden stuff, and that's just me. I like the exploratory nature of that sort of level. The maze level's okay. You have to open up umbrellas for worms. I don't really know. And then the side-scrolling level's probably the shortest of the bunch and features a mini-boss fight, which is fine. It's pretty easy. This DLC is actually very easy, except for the boss battle. And that's where this game struggles. And it struggled in this DLC, and it struggled in the main game as well. This game doesn't train you for the boss battles. It just throws you in and hopes you'll figure out the mechanics. This boss battle is really difficult, and it has a lot of random elements to it that don't really make for a fun or interesting experience. It's actually just frustrating and really, really annoying. So basically you get to the final boss, and it's Lady Meowington or whatever. She's a pop singer. She has a new single. Her single is dropping, whatever. That's a 30 Rock joke for all you out there. Been thinking about that show a bunch. She has a single dropping. She's very excited about it. Whatever. You have to go defeat her in a dance club. But it doesn't make sense of why you need to defeat her this certain way when you have never seen these mechanics before in the game. So basically, it's like a grid of like 30 individual squares, and it'll turn red with a blue area that you can stand in like a safe zone. That's never been in the game before. Like, I can't remember. I played this game very thoroughly. I got the original 1000 gamer score. I played a ton of this game, never saw that mechanic. So when it shows up here, it's like totally out of left field, and it's a whole new thing to get used to. I think what good games do in games like this, adventure games, what they do a good job of teaching you mechanics that all culminate into a boss battle that uses everything you've learned in the game. This game doesn't have that, which is really unfortunate because it actually is a really fun game. And as I was mentioning earlier, this did it in the first, in the vanilla release as well. And it's just unnecessarily frustrating. Teach me the mechanics of it. Make it a new thing of like, you need to learn this through the previous 3 levels and apply it in a boss battle. So basically, again, you have the grid. It'll turn red. You can't be there. You'll get damaged. There's a blue section you can use as a safe zone. So you get there and you have the grid. You have the blue section that's safe. You have the red section that's going to hurt you. And as the boss battle goes on, it's 3 cycles. It progressively gets smaller. Now the problem with this is there isn't a set area that it's going to land in. It's randomized. As random as it can be. It's, you'll be praying to good old RNGesus himself to hopefully get through this boss battle. And she'll drop down on a disco ball and start spinning around with lasers, which is fine in the first section, but it gets progressively harder because they start to add more and more elements in. More and more elements that you don't really have any familiarization with throughout the game, so it feels like a whole separate thing that they thought of for some other reason and then kind of just crammed it into this because it made sense because of the character they were using. So the boss battle is really, really difficult, and it's not fun, which is super unfortunate, and definitely puts a damper on this DLC. Achievement-wise, it adds 18 achievements for 500 gamer score, which is totally awesome. Though good luck with one of them, because you have to beat the final boss without taking a single hit, and like I was saying, it is random, so that's going to be kind of a mess. Again, pray to RNGesus, he'll get you through what you need to get through. Or she, doesn't really matter. RNGesus is all around us. And there are also 2 other achievements that are super annoying in this game, that are super long and grindy. You need to get up to 99,999 coins. There's another one for 30,000, and there's one for 15,000 as well. Like I said, played the game pretty thoroughly. I only got 15,000 coins, so I only unlocked one of the achievements, which is kind of frustrating. I unlocked only about 2,000 more coins in this DLC. This is going to be a huge grind if you want to do it. Somebody posted on, I think, True Achievements about a method that takes about 30 seconds, but you only get 100 coins, so you're going to have to do that literally thousands of times, and they were saying it was going to take about 5 hours. So just be aware if you're a completionist. I'm not typically, though I am kind of bummed to have this one lost and probably not going to be able to get it back. Overall, I think this DLC is really good. It's a good reason to jump back into this game. Check it out, Super Lucky's Tale, if you have Xbox Game Pass. It is a fun game. And, yeah, give the DLC a shot. It's $5. Hopefully there's more. Hopefully that'll alleviate some of the grinding regarding the other 2 achievements. Maybe they'll even go in and fix that other one, because, man, that's going to be a big pain in the ass. Definitely check this out. I enjoyed most of my time with it. I don't think the boss battle's super great. I didn't actually even finish it. I picked up 14 of the 18 achievements for about 275 gamer score. So go ahead and give it a shot. Next on our show, we have Trials of the Blood Dragon, game that was available for free on Xbox Live Games with Gold. Available as of the 1st of the month. So far 2 games I've played are available for free, depending on if you have subscription. So I guess they're not free, but you get the gist. If you have the subscription, you can download it. There you go. Do with that information what you will. I feel pretty torn on this particular game. I'm not a super big Trials guy. It's too difficult for my level of patience, which like difficulty is like way up here. My patience level is like way down out of frame. I don't have a ton of patience for it. Trials games are typically known for being very difficult. For those of you who don't know, this one I guess I should explain a little bit better. This is a mashup between a traditional Trials game, which is a physics-based motorcycle like challenge sort of thing. You have to get from point A to point B, and there are obstacles in the way, and it gets really hard really quick. And the other half of this mashup is Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, which is like a super weird combination that no one really would have expected. This game was announced and released E3 a couple years ago, probably 2015 maybe. That sounds about right. And they kind of just came out of nowhere, which is awesome. It's a cool little surprise. But the game just isn't that great. The Trials sections on the motorcycle are really good, and I was surprised at how far I was able to get into this game. I got through, I want to say 5 worlds. I got through maybe like 18 levels or so, 17, 18 levels, somewhere in there. And I only really started to struggle towards the end of that particular run when they threw in a jetpack in there that has terrible controls and isn't fun. And that's like the big takeaway from me from this game, is the fact that once you're off the motorcycle, this game's not fun. It meshes with the Blood Dragon storyline in a really interesting way, but it also makes you have platforming sections and shooting sections that aren't fun, they aren't interesting, they're really boring, and they don't have a good pace. The motorcycle stuff feels good. It's Trials, even if it does maybe feel a little bit easier, but it's still, that's where this game thrives, is on the motorcycle. And anytime you're off of that, it's really dull and boring, and it loses pace of what you're doing. The story's kind of interesting, and it's definitely based off of an 80s kind of just generic action movie, and like is very 1980s, which isn't necessarily for me because I wasn't born in the 80s. I'm a 90s kid, so take that with what you will. If you like the 80s, you'll probably dig a lot of it and probably get a lot more of the references that are out there, even though most of them are fairly obvious. Though the style is cool, and sometimes it does unfortunately bleed over into the gameplay a little bit too much, causing unnecessary frustration. I was pleasantly surprised, like I said earlier, with how far I got into this game. However, I'm not going to go back, and it's hard to recommend this game to anyone who is outside of that Trials, like, diehard fandom. The motorcycle stuff is good, like I said. The platforming stuff is weak. It's not, again, it's not interesting. The jumping's too floaty. It's too slow. It doesn't have a good rhythm. It's just kind of bland and boring. It feels weird and unnecessary. So if you're really into Trials, give this a shot. I mean, it's free with gold, so obviously that gives it, it opens access to a lot more people who will, try it, get, 2 worlds in and go, hey, this isn't for me. So it's a free download, so give it a shot if you're really that interested in it. But just know that it's maybe not the best game in the series. In fact, I'm sure it's not the best game in the series. I was able to manage 7 achievements for 240 gamer score, which, again, huge surprise for me. Difficulty way up here, patience way down here. But I managed through some of it. Not a strong recommendation on that at all. Our third and final game today is Gravel, the off-road racer. I really like this game quite a bit. It's not the best game in the world, not going to blow your mind or anything, but I am a fan of racing games, specifically off-road racing games like Dirt. Shout out to my cousin Philip for introducing me to that particular series and getting me kind of into this section of racing games that I hadn't ever really seen before. So thank you for that. This is a good game. It runs well. It doesn't necessarily have the best controls ever. Doesn't look the best. Again, not going to blow you away, but it is fun doing the races. I think there's a great variety of track looks. You're in the desert one moment, then you're in the snowy mountains of Alaska the next moment, then you're in like Los Angeles Coliseum for like a stadium race, and that's all really cool. You go to Florida, which is a thankful and welcome track variety and nice things to look at, different things to look at, not just here's some trees. This game has 4 different types of events. They have lap races, obviously. They have checkpoint races, which are point A to point B, which is a typical rally race. But the difference in this particular game is instead of racing against the clock, you are racing against 7 other people. So it's a little bit different, which is kind of nice. There are time attack modes and a smash up mode. And the smash up mode is the one that I like the least because I don't think it's super interesting. It's too similar to the time attack mode. Basically, you have to get from point A to point B or do a lap in a certain amount of time while hitting boxes that appear on the track. And some of them have red X's, which will stop you all the way, like just zero out your speed. And the other green ones, if you hit them, you'll just keep going and maintain your momentum. The problem with this game mode is, 1, sometimes the car gets in the way. 2, sometimes the line of signs is in a weird spot and it's hard to see, like right up over a crest. And that's super annoying. And thirdly, they don't always give you enough time to make a good decision, because sometimes it'll be on the right, and then sometimes it'll be on the left, and sometimes it'll kind of want you to slalom between the rows, which, I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world to hit one of the red X's, but you want to try and, obviously, because you're racing to get the fastest time, you want to try and hit all of them. So sometimes you can get out of position, and it's a little bit too easy to get out of position and miss a checkpoint, which restarts you. It's a whole mess. It was the one that I was kind of the most frustrated with, and I wasn't really frustrated with any of the stuff in this game, but this mode did kind of get me a little bit, where it's like, thank you for putting that all the way over there, so that when I tried to come back in on a turn, I slid too far out and missed it, and now I'm 15 seconds behind, and now everything's a disaster, and it's on fire, and my console's broken. It's not really broken. I'm just being dramatic at this point. Thankfully, though, this game does run well. It had 2 weird hiccups where it locked up for about 5 seconds and then just continued. I thought for sure the game was going to crash. And it did a weird thing that I've never seen before, where I quit out of the game, and when I went back in, it didn't load correctly and restarted my Xbox. On 2 separate occasions it did this, which is just super bizarre. I pushed the A button, I said, go ahead and load it, Mr. Gaming Gods, read the disc and do all the fun stuff you need to do, and it's just like, no, we're just going to restart the whole console. So, but I was able to get that fixed, so don't worry about it. Don't worry about my Xbox, it's okay. It's sitting right over there. It's totally fine. as I said at the top, I really do like this game. I'm going to get back to it. I'm hoping to complete the whole achievement list on Xbox One. I have 330 gamer score and 17 achievements unlocked so far. This is definitely a front-loaded list. You're going to get a ton in the first. I think I played for about 4 hours. I have 5 of the 20 total episodes complete, and there are some grindier achievements toward the end, but that's fine. I'm enjoying the game enough to stick with it. If you like off-road racers, like I mentioned earlier, I mentioned Dirt. I think this is an interesting game to give a shot. The stepping stones, or the foundation, I guess, is laid here to do something potentially pretty interesting with a sequel. I mentioned last week when I was talking about this game and the upcoming releases that it had a television show or a game show aspect to it. That doesn't really come through at all, which is unfortunate. I thought it would do something a little bit more with that. So that's a little bit more on the disappointing side. But I still think this is a pretty good game. Again, give it a try. If you like off-road stuff, just don't expect the world out of it, and you'll probably have a pretty good time with it. As usual here on the Weekend Review, we end the show by looking forward to the week ahead. This is a pretty busy week here. I have my handy-dandy paper pad. I don't know where I'm going with that. Handy-dandy list of stuff that's coming out this week that I am looking forward to checking out. And on Blu-ray, Lady Bird. Go watch Lady Bird, because it's great. What a terrific movie. Which reminds me, I didn't mention it on the top, and I was debating if I wanted to talk about it. But shout out to everybody who won an Oscar yesterday. Jordan Peele for original screenplay, which is awesome. Guillermo del Toro won for Best Director, and Shape of Water took Best Picture, which is great. Coco won for Best Original Song and Remember Me, hell yeah. And Best Animated Feature, no duh. Because you're going to crush The Boss Baby, because it's a terrible, stupid, dumb movie. How'd that even get nominated? Frances McDormand and Sam Rockwell took home pretty obvious awards in the actress and supporting actor category, though I would have loved to have seen Willem Dafoe win for supporting actor for The Florida Project. If I were beating more drums on this show, I would have been beating that drum for quite a while. Willem Dafoe is absolutely terrific in The Florida Project. And I also would have given the award for Best Supporting Actress instead of who won? Allison Janney for I, Tonya. I would have given it to Laurie Metcalf in Lady Bird, because she's great. She's so terrific in that role. I'm hopefully going to pick up Lady Bird soon. We'll talk more about that movie in the future. That one is a for sure thing. I picked up Coco and 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri last week. Looking forward to talking about those more in depth. 2 movies coming out in theaters this week. We have Thoroughbreds, which looks super weird and is getting a lot of good reviews, so maybe check that out this weekend. And A Wrinkle in Time hits theaters Friday as well. On the game side, Life is Strange Before the Storm hits retail. That game is freaking great. It's way better than Life is Strange, the first vanilla version. It gives Chloe more to do. It makes her more interesting. It makes her more likable. You really understand how messed up she is with a certain plot element. I won't spoil here, but she's a much better character. David's a bit better. Chloe and David are actually very, very similar. They're 2 people who are stuck in a situation where they're way over their heads, but they don't know how to respond to anything unless it's with anger. And that's super interesting dynamic to watch play out. Chloe, I think, in the first game is like borderline unbearable for a lot of it, and it isn't until like the middle or towards the end where she finally changes to a more interesting or tolerable person. And one of the other things that this game does really, really well is gives you a great final decision. The first game has one of the worst, like, make a decision endings I've ever seen. That ending sucks. It's really bad. Life is Strange is like 4.5 episodes of a really good game. This is 3 really solid episodes of a really great game. Also out this week in games, North, which is $5 and apparently a 20-minute completion on Xbox One, is out this week. One-Eyed Kutka, I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it, looks super weird. It's $5. I'm going to give it a shot. So a busy week for me this weekend with a couple movies, a couple games. And then Scribblenauts Showdown is out this week, which is a party-based Scribblenauts game. I like the idea of the Scribblenauts games, but I never really had any consoles. I think they were primarily on the Nintendo platforms that I didn't own, between the Wii and the Wii U, the 3DS and the DS. I never had any of those, so didn't get to try that game out. Yeah, and those, so that's the games. That's it. That's all 4 of them. I have another one here called Midnight Deluxe that I wrote down, but I didn't look into at all. You have to like hit an orb in a golf-like game. I don't know. One error to correct in last week's episode. I mentioned that Superhot was available Games with Gold. I said that it was out on March 1st. That game does not actually hit Games with Gold until March 16th, so sorry about that. That's on me. And before I forget, we have the PlayStation Plus games of March 2018. They're going to release on the 6th, the day this video posts, and they are as follows. Bloodborne, 2016's Ratchet & Clank, those are on PlayStation 4 exclusively. Ratchet & Clank, go play that. I haven't played it, but it looked awesome, and I love Ratchet & Clank, so do it. Mighty Number 9 is on PS3 with a cross-buy with PS4. Claire Extended Cut and Bombing Busters are on the Vita with cross-buy on PS4. So there are 5 games on PlayStation 4 this month, and Legend of K is PlayStation 3 only. They also announced that they are removing the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Vita games starting March of 2019, which I am surprised they're going to stick with it that long. I figured when they made that announcement, they'd be like, we have like 6 months left and then we're done. So that's your PlayStation Plus lineup, and I knew it. I called it last week. So going from like an error to I got it right, they announced on Wednesday when I had already posted the episode. So, yeah. One comment was left on last week's video. Mrs. Awesome 2319 said, Sean, you own 2 Pacific Northwest cups. You're absolutely right. I do, and I totally forgot about that. So I have 2 cups, 2 t-shirts, 2 hats, 2 hoodies, and 1 Nalgene bottle. So please, Pacific Northwest, make 1 more Nalgene bottle. Or I guess I could just go buy the same one twice, so I can have 2 straight across. So those are the comments and corrections of this last week's episode. Thank you so much for watching. This has been episode 7 of the Week in Review. I am Sean. You can follow me on social media if you want. I'm on Twitter at SeanOsaurusRex. I'm on Instagram at SeanOsaurusRex. I post all sorts of fun, dumb things that are probably like, why would you do that? More like questionable, maybe kind of cute and fun. I don't know what they are. Be sure to derail myself here. Be sure to check back in next week and every Tuesday for more game and movie coverage, random shenanigans. Who knows what happens here on the Week in Review? But there is one way. Subscribe, like, share, comment. Let me know what hype trains I'm missing. Let me know what you're excited for, all that good stuff. And yeah, we'll see you next week.